Browns trying to assemble that defensive coaching staff, get things rolling in the right direction. Former Browns quarterback Bernie Kosar talking about what the Browns need to do to make Jim Schwartz defense as strong as they can be. This is from the Bernie Kosar with Hanford-Dixon show.
Jim Schwartz defense, one of the quiet things they do is they build it from the inside out. He will be privately in these meetings hammering for defensive tackles.
And you have to have them.
He will be hammering. He has been notorious for having his defensive tackles be run stoppers and be able to push the pocket and collapse the middle of the pocket. The exact stuff that we through the course of this past season.
And again, let's welcome in Jeff Lloyd from the Lockdown Browns podcast. Jeff, it's a valid point. What the Browns struggled with is historically what Jim Schwartz's defenses do well.
There's no question about it, and I think we all know, and this has gone on before the Andrew Berry regime as being general manager of this team, is this team has had a history of just not being able to have the play that a lot of teams get out of their interior defensive tackles. You look at Jim Schwartz, his early days with the Tennessee Titans had Albert Haynesworth. When he went to the Detroit Lions and Ndamukong Suh, when he was with the Buffalo Bills, Marcel Darius, when he was with the Philadelphia Eagles, Fletcher Cox, even now coming back again from Tennessee now to this job with the Cleveland Browns, Jeffrey Simmons on the interior. This is a key part to what his offense does. His defense does, rather. And the thing here is Jim Schwartz likes to put out a dominant defensive line. He wants to rush with four. He doesn't want to risk coverage by having to blitz a ton. His blitz rate is very, very low. In order to be able to do that, you need to go 7, 8, maybe even 9 deep on your defensive line, continuously rotating players, continuously mixing up the looks from your interior defenders, your interior defensive tackles, obviously your edge players. You want to get in the opportunity where you can maybe get 4 pass rushers on the field at any given time in nickel and dime situations. Jim Schwartz likes to start to build his defense from the front to the back. So yes, defensive tackle, and we've talked about it for years. We've certainly talked about it a lot on this show, Dave. It is the number one priority for this regime to get right this offseason. If you got to sign 2 free agents, if you got to sign 1 big-time free agent and hammer a couple of picks here in the draft on the interior defensive line, yes, there are guys in that room who may fit a Jim Schwartz defense, but I don't think there's any defensive tackle for the Cleveland Browns right now who should feel comfortable with his roster status.
Yeah, I would agree. It'll be rotational, like you said. They're probably going to add a couple. They'll probably have 8, maybe even 9 defensive line. And he said we wave them in and do that. And it is a difference. I think they minimize the defensive tackles. You and I have talked about this ad nauseum probably last year. They're not going to be able to do that this year. They're not going to, with that system, be able to minimize defensive tackle anymore.
The key here is the biggest thing is the Browns with Joe Woods. It was always, we want to play 3 safeties. We want to get to nickel. We want to get to dime. Well, that's all well and good if you can get it done on 1st and 10, if you can stop the run. If you don't put the opposition in the position where it's 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, it's 3rd and 3, they can continue to play the offense the way they want to. If you're not going to put them in pass first situations in 2nd and long or 3rd and long, if you don't have the ability on 1st and 10 to do that, the whole plan you have basically doesn't work. It doesn't exist. And that's kind of the problem that Joe Woods had. You look at it, he played against a quarterback last year in Marcus Mariota in the Atlanta Falcons. It didn't matter that he couldn't complete any passes. It didn't matter they had no semblance of a passing game that day because they didn't have to break from the run. They need to be able to stop the run first and foremost, and then they can worry about what they want to do in nickel and dime. It's all a great idea, but until you can actually stop the run, it doesn't matter what your plan B is, your plan C is. If you're not getting plan A done, it's over.